movie footage used in any of the Slasher Scotty videos, including the body count, the rankings, and the top 10 videos, are entirely owned by the copyright holders. Slasher Scotty makes no claim of ownership and simply uses the footage for purposes of education, commentary, and criticism under the Fair Use Act. Welcome everyone to The Body Count, where we tally up all of your favorite kills for all of your favorite horror movies. I am your host, Slasher Scotty, and before we go into this week's episode I just would like to say that this episode of The Body Count is being sponsored by The Fairy Squad Princesses, a preteen book series by author Marcus Motra. Yes, it is not horror-based, but they are today's amazing sponsor. The book series is about 4 fairies that try to save the world from evil forces and is based closely to the Winx Club. Order your copy of all 3 books, with the 4th one set to release this year. The link is in the description, and you can also search Amazon to pick up your copy. But how about we go and get spooky, because this week's episode of The Body Count is on Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch is not your typical slasher film, and definitely not your typical Halloween film. From a lack of Michael Myers to an evil Irishman looking to take over the world via Stonehenge, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch was looking at doing something different by creating a slew of Halloween films as an anthology series, each with a different theme. That's why Michael was killed in the second film, and he was never intended to be brought back from the brink of death. Due to poor money at the box office, as well as a poor reception to exclude Michael Myers from the film, we didn't continue with the anthology series, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the body count was subpar. And speaking of the body count, are you ready to see what this franchise could rack up without Michael and his butcher knife? Me too! Let's go and count the bodies! The film starts off with a title card! We get a nice LED display of a pumpkin being created for the opening credits. Now it is Saturday, October the 23rd. It is roughly 1 week before Halloween. A novelty shop owner, later identified as middle-aged toy salesman Harry Grimbridge, ran on foot from a pursuing car's headlights and into a deserted car parts and wrecking lot. The mysterious man pinned Harry to the ground and is wearing a gray business suit and shiny black shoes. Are they going to be going to a formal Halloween party? Anyways, this man, later identified as a Silver Shamrock android henchman, is added to the body count when Harry Grimbridge released a parked car that rolled towards them, crushing the henchman between 2 cars, adding him to the body count. 1 hour later, during a fierce thunderstorm, the scene shifted to a gas station where the attendant, identified as Walter Jones, was watching television. A British commentator reported on a previous theft 9 months earlier of the 5-ton bluestone from Stonehenge, which is believed to represent the 19-year cycle of the moon. An advertisement then played for Silver Shamrock novelties. The theme song for the commercial, which you'll hear a lot in this movie, is the tune of London Bridge is Falling Down, and you'll be hearing it a lot. It went something like, 8 more days till Halloween, Halloween, Well, listen to yourself, because I had to listen to it to prepare for this episode of The Body Count, so I guess that means you do too. Harry Grimbridge stumbled into the station clutching an orange jack-o'-lantern Silver Shamrock mask and then fell to the floor. He warned the attendant that they're coming. The attendant then drove Grimbridge to the hospital in a tow truck. At almost 8 p.m. in another part of town, an alcoholic father of 2, Dr. Daniel Challis, arrived home late to his ex-wife Linda. Fun fact, Linda Challis is played by Nancy Keys, formerly known as Nancy Loomis, who played Annie Brackett in the first Halloween film and her corpse in the second one. Dr. Challis presents plain old Halloween mask to his children, and they are disappointed, and told him that their mother got them scarier latex Silver Shamrock masks. His son got a skeleton mask, and his daughter got a witch one. He was immediately summoned back to the hospital, where he treated Grimbridge, who cryptically ranted on a stretcher stating, "They're going to kill us all." Grimbridge was then treated with a dosage of Thorazine and placed in hospital room number 13, unlucky number 13, and soon after, another business-suited man with black gloves gouged out Grimbridge's eyes with 2 fingers, ripping apart his skull in a gruesome fashion, adding Harry Grimbridge to the body count. The henchman then methodically wiped the blood off on a curtain and returned back to his vehicle outside of the hospital. Dr. Challis chases after him after Agnes, a nurse, finds Grimbridge's corpse in the hospital bed. Dr. Challis sees the man dousing himself with gasoline and setting himself on fire, immolating himself and having the car explode, adding this Silver Shamrock henchman to the body count. It is now Sunday the 24th. Ellie Grimbridge is at the hospital to identify her father's body in the hospital room, and was told that the case was under investigation. Wednesday the 27th of October, Teddy, who is a friend of Dr. Challis's, is in the coroner's office, and she told him that the well-dressed businessman had super-arm strength to have been able to pull apart Grimbridge's skull. Now on Friday, October the 29th, Dr. Challis is at the bar, where the TV broadcast is advertising an airing of an iconic yet familiar film. I don't want to deprive you of the only chance to see Michael Myers in this movie, so take a look at the television advertisement.
The Immortal Classic, followed by the big giveaway at 9, brought to you by...
Come on. What's the matter? Don't you have any Halloween spirit?
Ellie Grimbridge located Dr. Challis at the bar, and they decided to work together to discover why her father had died. They visited his closed-down toy store in Sierra Madre that had been struggling financially against a new mall. Ellie had researched her father's appointment book and surmised that he had run into trouble after October 20th, when he was supposed to be picking up more Halloween masks in the small town of Santa Mira, California, which is the location of the Silver Shamrock Novelty Toys Factory, as well as a large Irish community. After World War II, in the rural town of Santa Mira, wealthy Irishman Conal Cochran had invigorated the town by establishing the toy factory, the largest manufacturer and purveyor of Halloween masks in the world. They were watched suspiciously by various bystanders and shop owners, as well as a TV surveillance camera, as they drove into the community. They decided that their plan would be to pretend to be husband and wife mask buyers, and that they would share a room in the town's Rose of Shannon motel as they went about their investigation. Okay, so, husband and wife, eh? Dr. Challis, played by Tom Atkins, is literally twice the age of Stacey Nelkin, who played Ellie Grimbridge. Don't you think that father-daughter would be more believable and appropriate? I mean, I know age is just a number and people are married that are twice their partner's age, but for plot purposes, I think someone would, like Conal Cochran would see through this facade, if you ask me. Challis went to rent a room at the Rafferty's gas station, which is ran by Rafferty himself and is directly next to the motel. And Challis saw the guest entry register book at the front desk showing that Ellie's father had checked into the same motel on October 20th. As Conal Cochran slowly drove by in a chauffeured vehicle, Mr. Rafferty called him a true genius. As they checked in, other guests of the motel started to arrive in a Winnebago, and they are the Kupfer family from San Diego, and consisted of Buddy Kupfer, his wife Betty, and their red-haired, rambunctious son, Little Buddy. At the same time, a disgruntled toy shop owner on Union Square in San Francisco, named Marge Gutman, also drove in and is unhappy about having to stay overnight due to a screwed-up toy order from the factory that she was forced to handle personally. As Challis returned to his motel room, he was confronted by a drunken, disgruntled, homeless townsperson named Starker, who warned him about Cochran spying and rumors swirling about the factory and madmouthed the factory owner himself. He divulged how he was planning to use Molotov cocktails to burn the factory down to the ground, and later, in his shack, 2 android business-suited men added Starker to the body count by ripping his head off his neck with a fountain of blood squirting into the air like a geyser. By the way, that henchman was played by Dick Warlock, Michael Myers from Halloween Part 2. Teddy, on the phone with Dr. Challis, reported that they had been accidentally looking at plastic and metal shavings, which are parts of the car that was exploded by the henchman rather than the correct body parts because of mixed up envelopes. The next day, she also reported to Dr. Challis that she believed someone had tampered with the evidence since there were no bone fragments or teeth. While Dr. Challis and Ellie were making love in their room, with Dr. Challis all up on his mommy issues by drinking some of that breast milk, Marge Gutman looks closer at one of the poorly made mask pieces that had a trademark Silver Shamrock button with an embedded computer chip that had fallen off of one of the masks. As she poked at the back of it with a bobby pin, it emitted a lethal laser beam that blasted her in the face, leaving her disfigured and dead, as a Jerusalem cricket emerged from her mouth, thus adding Marge to the body count. In the middle of the night, a white van and other white vehicles with white-garbed attendants removed Marge's corpse from her motel room. Conal Cochran chauffeured vehicles drove up, and he assured everyone of Marge's small accident and promised to get her the very best treatment at the marvelous emergency facilities at the factory, where he then whispered the word, "Misfire," as he departed. Saturday, October the 30th, the day before Halloween, Dr. Challis and Ellie are at the Silver Shamrock factory office and were told that Mr. Grimbridge picked up and signed for his order on the 21st of October and then drove away in his green station wagon. As they were about to leave, the Kupfer family arrived, and Buddy Kupfer was personally greeted by Conal Cochran himself as the salesman who had sold the most Silver Shamrock masks than anyone else in the country. Dr. Challis and Ellie were then assured that Marge Gutman has been flown for treatment to San Francisco and that Ellie's replacement order would be at no extra charge. The two groups were given a factory tour and shown how latex was heated and poured into the mask molds, then trimmed, painted, and packaged for shipment. They also were led into the museum of Cochran's other toys, to which Kupfer called Cochran the all-time genius of practical jokes, as he invented sticky toilet paper, the dead dwarf gag, and the soft chainsaw. Cochran then bragged about the final inspection of quality that contains very dangerous volatile chemicals, his seal of approval, and his trade secrets. Dr. Challis was suspicious of business-suited guards standing around the facility, as they look a lot like the guy who killed Ellie's father. Inside an open garage on the grounds, Ellie spotted her father's car but was prevented by the guards from getting any closer. Back at the motel that evening with only one more day until Halloween, with Dr. Challis and Ellie prepared to leave, he couldn't reach anyone by phone outside of town. When he returned to their room, he found that Ellie was missing and was kidnapped by business-suited men in a white Silver Shamrock vehicle. 5 android businessmen stood outside his door, forcing him to flee through the bathroom window and break into a nearby factory to locate her. To his surprise, he decapitated a knitting grandmother robot, later identified by Cochran as a rare piece Germany made in Munich 1785. And no, I'm not going to be adding the grandmother robot to the body count, as she's clearly a robot, not an android. In the shipping room, he fought hand-to-hand against another business-suited android, played by Dick Warlock. When he punched at the man's midsection, his hand entered the android's gooey, wired innards, and the robotic assassin spewed yellowish blood from his mouth as he was deactivated, thus adding yet another android to the body count. Dr. Challis was then captured by other androids, all created by the crazed Cochran, who was using his company as a front for his evil cult. He was looking forward to the next day, Halloween, calling it a very busy day. On Sunday, October 31st, that's right, Halloween, Cochran led Dr. Challis to the final processing area as he described how he had made the androids simple to produce, another form of mask making, and loyal and obedient unlike most human beings. He then described his factory as combining advanced and ancient technology. In a large room where a circle of computers and white-coated lab technicians sat, a large fragment of the 5-ton bluestone that was stolen from Stonehenge, which was earlier mentioned on the TV newscast that Walter Jones was watching, was being chipped and hammered away. Dr. Challis was compelled to watch a video demonstration of Cochran's sinister plan in effect for Halloween night. But this demonstration would later star the Kupfer family, as they are in a simulated living room. After they were seated in the windowless, locked metal room, they viewed the Silver Shamrock television commercial that was to air that night throughout the country. The announcer spoke, and as little Buddy watched the commercial, the trademark button on the jack-o'-lantern mask blinked on and off. The young boy then suddenly clutched his head. When the trademark chip activated, which was constructed with a piece of the ancient Stonehenge monolith, it activated a lethal laser beam, causing severe brain and head damage and hemorrhage to little Buddy, and transformed his head into mush and a vermin's nest, with crawling insects and swarming snakes coming out of the mask, killing little Buddy and adding him to the body count. Buddy's mother, Betty, she was also added to the body count when she passed out and was attacked and swarmed by the venomous snakes. And of course, we cannot forget about the father, Buddy Kupfer, adding him to the body count as well, when he too is swarmed and attacked by venomous snakes and other creepy crawlies. Cochran's plan was to air his commercial advertised as the big giveaway at 9 p.m. Halloween night throughout the country during a horror-a-thon showing. Not sure how that works with time zones and all, because if it's 9 p.m. on the East Coast, everyone from the West Coast will get wind of the massacre to the children on the East Coast. But if it was 9 p.m. on the West Coast, the commercial would have been aired on the East Coast, so overall the plan was flawed and not fully explained. In the coroner's office at the morgue, after discovering something other than a car part in the charred remains of the automobile, Teddy was phoning the sheriff when she was then added to the body count by one of the black-gloved Silver Shamrock androids as she was stabbed in the head and through her ear with a power drill. At 7:30 p.m. at the Silver Shamrock factory, Dr. Challis was bound in a cell with a television and forced to watch the horror-a-thon. The demented and sadistic Cochran further explained how his plan was to brutally sacrifice children to the pagan gods. He then placed a skeletal latex mask on Dr. Challis' head and then left the room. Dr. Challis would then kick his feet through the television set and escape from his straps. He found a way out of the cell through a small vented passageway at about 8:11 p.m. He emerged on the roof, phoning his ex-wife Linda to warn her to get rid of the masks, although she dismissed his pleas as being drunken nonsense. He then located Ellie in another cell. Together they returned to the factory's main computer control room that contained the Stonehenge rock. He punched buttons on the control panel. He then prematurely played the 9 p.m. commercial and ended up destroying a total of 16 androids in a shower of falling and activated exploding computer chips that he dumped on the technicians, adding our biggest group to the body count to this day. Cochran then politely applauded Dr. Challis as he watched the Stonehenge monolith glow and the circle of computers magically discharged a bluish-white light energy. Cochran's body was disintegrated and vaporized by the discharged laser beam, thus adding him to the body count. In a chain of reaction, the rock exploded, the chips in the packing boxes detonated, and the mask caught on fire. After they fled from the burning factory and drove away at 8:48 p.m., Dr. Challis was attacked by a cloned android Ellie and caused their car to run off the road. He killed her by separating her head from her body with a tire iron that he grabbed from the trunk. Although beheaded, her amputated arm still kept trying to strangle him, and in the end, Ellie Grimbridge was added to the body count. Dr. Challis makes it to the filling station, where he attempts to contact TV stations to remove the commercial at the magic hour. He is able to persuade all but the third channel from airing it. So take a listen.
Skeletons all jack-o'-lanterns.
The third commercial, it's still on, please. Take off the third channel, it's still running. Stop it, please, for God's sake, please stop it. There's no more time. You've got to, please, stop it now, turn it off, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it!
That's right, he was screaming "stop it" as seen in the clip just moments ago. The film ends without revealing whether the commercial is ultimately stopped. Although it is most likely not, the being the case, it is also known that the kids who watched the giveaway, we don't know if they survived. And we also don't know the fate of Dr. Challis, his ex-wife, or his children. So we won't be adding them also to the body count. The film was met with mostly negative reviews, simply due to the exclusion of Michael Myers. But I personally enjoy the film, and I go into watching it with an open mind, and not part of the Halloween franchise as a whole. But just because Michael didn't do any of the killing doesn't mean that there weren't any bodies. Did this film have more bodies than Michael did in 2 films? Let's find out at the numbers and count those bodies. No, come on now, stop playing that. Come on, please, stop it. Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, was released on October 22nd, 1982, and it starred Tom Atkins, Stacey Nelkin, Dan O'Harely, Garn Stevens, Ralph Straight, Jadine Barbour, Brad Schachter, Wendy Westberg, Michael Curry, Jonathan Terry, Dick Warlock, and Nancy Keys. There were a total of 28 deaths in Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, with 5 of them being males, 4 of them being females, and 19 of them being androids, not including Ellie's death at the end, giving us a 3-way pie split between males, females, and androids. The Slasher Scotty gold ribbon goes with what was a toss-up between Starker and the one that got awarded, but I believe Harry Grimbridge gets gold for this one. Just something about how realistic this death is, and it feels like it just is absolutely gruesome and graphically brutal, yet brilliantly beautiful if you ask me. The Slasher Scotty silver ribbon for lamest kill has to go to the Silver Shamrock henchman at the beginning of the film, because getting crushed by 2 cars is just, well, lame. Make sure to subscribe to Slasher Scotty for more videos to come, including interviews that I conduct with celebrity guests, as well as ranking videos, top 10s, and some more Slasher Scotty news, otherwise known as the SSN, and of course the body count, where we'll be taking a look at Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, next week, which, you guessed it, as the subtitle states, it is in fact the return of Michael Myers himself. Until then, I'm Slasher Scotty, and this has been the body count. Be good people.